All right, so now we're going to look at the console interaction log. And one thing I need to specify is at the time of this recording, which is in the Winter 18 release of Salesforce, the interaction logs are only available in Salesforce Classic and not in Lightning Experience. And so there's a note in the help related to what features are available in Lightning Console apps. And there's a very helpful table showing what is and isn't supported in Lightning Experience Console. And so some of the things are in parity, but it says here, there's a note that the Lightning Console apps don't yet have full parity with Salesforce Classic Console apps. And then also you cannot migrate Salesforce Classic Console apps to Lightning Experience. That's why the sample console is only available in Classic, and when you pop over to Lightning Experience, you don't see it, but you see a different console in Lightning Experience. You don't need to memorize the differences between the two here. I show this to explain why we're going to be spending some significant time in this section of the course in Classic instead of Lightning. Now at some point, some of these things will be brought into parity that are not in both of these columns. As far as like resizable split view, this is not something that's supported in Lightning Experience, but it will be in a future release, but it's an unplanned release. They haven't pegged it for a specific release. Keyboard shortcuts are supported in both. Custom keyboard shortcuts are not supported in Lightning, nor are interaction logs. And that's why I've led you here, is because we're talking about interaction logs. And so the main thing before we abandon this help article, and I will make this available in the resources section of the lecture here, is that you can reference this to see what is and isn't currently supported in Lightning Experience, and that way you'll know when you need to switch over to Salesforce Classic. I don't think realistically that call centers will be using Lightning Experience for the Service Console quite yet. It's not there and doesn't provide the same functionality. And so we are going to go into Classic. So if we go over to this other tab, I'm in the Service Console in Lightning. And so once again, to switch over to Classic, click your icon, select Switch to Salesforce Classic, and we will go into Classic and we can go back to our sample console. So the interaction log, let me show you how to add that first of all, and then we'll talk about what that is and how that can be customized. So let me close out some of these tabs. And so I'm in this contact record. Let me close that and this other account. And so now we're back in this case record. So I'm going to click the Force.com menu and swing that out and select Edit Layout. And that's a good way to get to the page layout editor for the page layout that you're currently on. And so in order to add the interaction log, we want to click Layout Properties right here. Kind of hard to find, but this particular button is where we get into turning on the interaction log. So the page layout name is also displayed here. You can change this. You can do some other things as far as showing the case assignment checkbox on the edit page, the email notification checkbox. We did that earlier when we changed ownership. We were able to notify John Doe that we assigned the case to him. But what I want to show you is the interaction log. So I'm going to show this in the console and click OK. And so now it doesn't display here in the page layout editor. You notice when I hover over this highlights panel, there's a wrench icon for the highlights panel. That's something different. We were looking at that earlier with the case owner, and where we didn't have the change link on the case owner on the highlights panel, and then we toggled over from the case chatter feed over to details. But the highlights panel, we can make adjustments by clicking that wrench icon, but we're not going to worry about changing this right now. What we're going to do, and this is really displayed weird, I'm going to go back. Let's make sure we've got our interaction log checked and click OK. And then we need to save our changes. And then we'll go back and let's refresh the browser. All right, so we need to now add the interaction log or enable it for the console. And so there's a help article here that takes you through doing this, and you can get to this actually like if you go back to that what features are available in Lightning Console help link, and you find interaction logs and click the yes link for Salesforce Classic, it shows you how to do this. So we may not have any interaction log layouts in our org. So let's go to setup. Let's do a search for interaction log. So for interaction log layouts, and we also have to assign these to profiles. So the default interaction log, we're going to click edit. And so for this default interaction log, and we can preview it down here, we've got name, related to, and subject. I'm just going to keep the defaults and click save. And then we're going to assign this, and we've got the default interaction log assigned to the system administrator profile already, so we're going to click save there. So now we need to turn on the interaction logs for console in Salesforce Classic. All right, so I'm finding why it's not showing up. It's saying that if you turn interaction logs on or off, you must close and reopen records to see the changes. So let's go back to the sample console and let's close this record, and let's close that as well, just for grins. Let's go into the cases tab and let's open a case. And so now we have our interaction log, and this is a fixed area down below, and it's a way that you can log notes or interactions associated with either a case or whatever record you have in the console. So for example, with accounts, I would need to edit the page layout here in order to show this. So let me edit the layout here, because the interaction log can be tied to more than just cases. It can be added to other objects in the Service Console in Classic. And so we're going to show this in the console for the interaction log for the account page layout and click OK. We're going to click save, and then as a reminder, we need to close and reopen our records. So I'm going to close these, and then let's see if we got the interaction log on an account record, which we do. So now the interaction log, you can relate this to the record that you're on, which it does by default, and we can adjust the different fields on the interaction log. But there's some default things that you can do as far as like logging a call. You could add some notes related to a call in the interaction log. You can click save log or save and new log so that it saves this, and then it shows that in the activity history. And I just did that, and so that's one quick way that you can log a call is through the interaction log. I've dealt in orgs that customized this interaction log space and did a Visualforce page, and then they dynamically rendered different surveys in the interaction log based on the case record type. That goes well beyond where we're at right now in this course, and we're not going to get into a lot of Visualforce in this course. But we will touch on flows, which are another good way of doing surveys in addition to what we're already custom building with our survey object. But for the functionality of the interaction log, this provides you with a fixed space that you can record different interactions related to cases or accounts. And as you saw, you've got to add those to the page layout. For the object that you're dealing with, you need to assign these to profiles, and you can create other interaction logs as well via setup. And so to round out the interaction log lecture, if we go back into the interaction log layouts, we can click a new interaction log, and we could do a different interaction log. I'm just going to call this example, and we're going to do some different fields here, and you see the preview update dynamically. I'm going to click save. And so now we've got the example interaction log, and so I'm going to set this as the default instead and click save. And so now let's see if we can go back into the sample console, and so now we've got these new fields because we got a different interaction log as our default. And so things to keep in mind is check out these help files if you need help with all the specifics. There's several different pieces to this. We set up the interaction log in the console, which is in Classic only. And you can get to all this from that previous help article that I showed you. And that's just by clicking on the yes link underneath Classic for interaction logs. And remember, it's not available in Lightning Experience quite yet. And so next, we're going to look at custom console components.